Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. So today we're going to be looking at some cancelled cards that didn't quite make their way into the actual game of Hearthstone. Some of these are full-fledged cards with visuals and a ton of info, while others, we only have some text to go off of, but regardless, they are quite interesting in my own opinion. Honestly, it's definitely pretty interesting when anything within pretty much any game is cancelled, and what makes it fun to look at is really trying to think of and brainstorm why did it get cancelled. You know, why did they decide to just completely boot it out of the game? I always find these types of videos a perfect source to try and theory craft, and they do go to make some interesting topics, but without further ado, let's actually get straight into it. Starting us off, we have a cancelled card that goes by the name Captain Scaleblade. This minion card was actually originally planned to appear in the Grand Tournament, but was cancelled just prior to the release. The thing is that before the removal of the Grand Tournament, it actually featured two legendary pirate minions, one being Captain Scaleblade and the other being Skycaptain Craig. He was supposed to be a 1-to-1 charge minion that would be summoned from the player's deck when they played a pirate. However, the developers weren't very careful with the synergies with the one-eyed cheat and the ship's cannon, and in turn the original design had to be cut and Craig's art and name were both swapped with Scaleblade instead. And then the former became a 4-to-6 charge minion, while both the character of Scaleblade and the design of a 1-to-1 charge minion was completely left out of the set. However, the original design of Scapin did eventually get released in the means of Street of Gadgetzan expansion. Next up we have Grounding Totem. This card was actually a shaman minion card removed from the game all the way back in the alpha and was replaced by Unbound Elemental. Lots of different directions were taken before they decided to remove it, as they had a lot of dedication in somehow making it work. However, only one out of the many iterations of this card's text was actually found. Its cost and stats, however, were never revealed. Its rarity can also be speculated, but would more than likely have been a common card since its replacement, Unbound Elemental, was a common card itself. The Grounding Totem would have the effect, and I quote, "Your other minions can be targeted by enemy spells or hero powers." This is actually one of the first examples of the elusive ability, and to date, it's actually the most powerful instance of this effect. Definitely an interesting card. While I personally can't say for myself, I'd say it may have just been scrapped because they couldn't really find a good way to synergize or balance it. However, this text was revealed sometime early 2013, and I mean, it's absolutely insane. Anyways, moving on, we have some cards in which were only revealed by text, similar to the one we just talked about, so I'm going to have to end up going through them relatively quickly, since there's not too much information to go off of. First up, we have the Journey of Ongoro. It reads Excited Lookout, and then mana 2 minion, which shuffled the highest mana card in your hand back into your deck, and drew a new card to replace it. This card was actually intended to help with smoothing out your cards, as I quote, and I don't think the purpose was really working because it was removed only a week or two before the final design process. The designers were actually worried about the interaction it would have between it, Hemet, Jungle Hunger, Holy Wraith, and Molten Giant. For our next card, we have the Mindrot Blade, 3 mana, 3/3 legendary warrior weapon with Battlecry. Discover a card, also replace cards you draw with copies of it. This card's effect was also used on an early version of King's Bane. This meant that two cards were kind of some sort of hybrid at one point, not to mention in the case that Mindrot Blade was actually released, it would have really affected the warrior class strongly. As well as that, we have Grinning Lucy, which reads 6 mana, 6/6 neutral legendary with Battlecry and Death Rattle. Swap decks with your opponent. This minion's effect eventually evolved into King's Togwaggle, which is also a legendary neutral minion. Definitely interesting to see how these cards evolve from one to another, and how Blizzard tends to rework cards and stats, but then rework the card itself and release it as its own thing, while discarding their previous ideas altogether. Following that card, we also have the Amulet of Zod, 3 mana, 0/2 legendary warlock weapon, and it reads Your hero can't die. At the start of your turn, this loses 1 durability. This card didn't end up evolving or becoming anything else actually, which is quite interesting. Honestly, I can't say for myself how it would actually play out if it did get its way into the game, if it'd be strong or maybe not as strong as it sounds, but you guys can let me know what you think down below. Finally, the last text-only card we have is Julie's Dagger / Lynn's Invisible Blade. 4 mana, 1/X rogue legendary weapon, and it reads Immune while attacking. dual wield, and then in brackets replaces your hero's power. This card, similar to the last three, has no artwork, and the only info I can really read off to you guys is what I just said. It definitely has a cool name, and I'm definitely curious as to how this would have played out in the game. But I'm no analyst, and I'm kind of bad at predicting maybe if it would have been strong or not. But like I just mentioned a second ago, let me know in the comments down below. I like reading your guys' opinions more than I like sharing mine. However, with all that being said, let's hop back into another cancelled card that has just a little more detail. We have Ozumat, who was a minion card in the game's alpha phases, taking us back 6 years ago yet again. He was a complete badass piece of artwork, but the developers stated themselves that they couldn't quite get him to fit into the game properly. This card was apparently removed very shortly before the beta stage of Hearthstone, so we're talking a very long time ago. The design and the idea of this card stuck and later became Deathwing. Now, I think the cool thing about this cancelled card is that it actually had its lore developed, and I'd like to take a quick look at that if you don't mind. Ozumat is actually a patriarch of all Kraken, and it appeared to be in the service of the old gods, fighting alongside the likes of Naga and the Faceless Ones during the Final Judgment and defending the Rift. It's actually the final boss of the Throne of Tides in World of Warcraft. It's actually the final boss of the Throne of Tides in World of Warcraft Cataclysm, and makes multiple appearances during the Fascisher storyline. Now, the cards that I've listed so far are actually cancelled cards that I haven't seen a lot of in other videos or lists, and this is why I wanted to focus and talk about them in greater detail first. However, there's actually a ton of cancelled cards within Hearthstone, so I'll read out some more to you guys. However, by the end of the video, if you guys did like it, then let me know by leaving a thumbs up and commenting, and we can do more cancelled card videos in the future. Anyways, next we have a card which personally I love the name. It goes by the name the Autopacker, and it's my personal favorite because it actually really goes to show the innovative ideas that they were ready to experiment with during the game's early development. Now, it didn't make it out, of course, but it costed 1 mana and read, deal 1 damage to any player who mouses over this minion. Now, I mean, just imagine taking damage when someone points their mouse over the card. It's a funny and unique concept, probably not the most intuitive mechanic for a card game, and of course utterly impossible to be done in a physical game, but I definitely admire the way they were ready to experiment. Another interesting card was Jadefire Satire, who was a common classic neutral minion. He was also cancelled during the early stages of the alpha and costed 5 mana, and the card read a very simple one-worded line of stealth. Now, this was actually replaced with Stanglethorn Tiger, which now does the same thing. Ironically, I wonder as to why they replaced the card like they did, and I wonder if it was to fit a certain lord or simply to fit a different deck, or they wanted the card to be a beast, unlike how it was before with Jadefire, which is a demon. Not sure, but it's definitely interesting. We also have Megablast, which is written in all caps, and with some exclamation marks as well, just to make sure you really understand that they're yelling it at you. It was an uncollectible legendary neutral spell, and it would be generated by Millhouse's battle cry, but was removed during the alpha when Millhouse was changed to no longer generate this card, meaning its use was now gone. It costed 10 mana and would deal 5 damage to all enemies. Next we have Assassin Training. It was a rogue spell costing 1 mana. It had a chance to be in the arena's unique set, but lost out to Smoke Bomb. Not much else is to be said about this card. There isn't a whole ton of information, but we do have the effect which reads, give a minion poisonous. You guys can make that out for yourselves. Then there's Ghost. This is our next card, and that's the whole name as well. Just Ghost. And it's a ghost. Go figure. While maybe not the most intriguing, as it reads ghostly and cost 1 mana with no full purpose, lore, or reasoning, we don't really have a lot to go off of. I just wanted to add it for fun. Blizzard actually just played around with this card during the Witchwood beta, and I guess they didn't get far into developing it, as we see the very clean plate, but the art style and picture is definitely badass. Anyways, the last card I'd like to mention for today's video is Volley. It's a hunger spell card and had the chance to be in the arena unique set, but lost out to Deadeye. Reading, add 3 random shot spells to your hand and costing 4 mana, it was ultimately cancelled and never made into the game. Anyways, that just about sums up the video for today. What cards did you guys like, and which do you wish never actually got cancelled? Let us know in the comments down below, and while you're down there, why not let me know what I can improve in these videos? Leave a like if you liked the video, and as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.